Hey, welcome to HR Famous, brought to you by Kinetics, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies. Named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider, Kinetics uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetics a call. Find them online at kineticshr.com. HR Famous is also brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of HR Famous. I'm Tim Sackett, and we have an addition to the team this week. We're minus Chris Dunn, who, we have work to do and sometimes work calls and it's greater. So we brought the producer in, the production person who happens also Jessica, and Jessica's with me as well. Everybody say hi to Jessica. You can't hear them, but they said hi over the pod. We brought my middle son, Cameron Sackett, to the show. Cameron, introduce yourself. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, I'm the favorite son, it seems, because I'm the only one that's ever been on.
That's
By
right.
the way,
the others don't exist.
This was a point of contention last night when the oldest son goes, why am I not being invited to the podcast? And I'm like, well, we like to have professionals.
Is that that might be the reason why he can't come on. Like, why am I not on the podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. Make me want to ask you. Come on, perform, dance, monkey. We need, we know we've jumped the shark when we start asking for JLee's kids to come on, which would actually be the best pod ever. To talk to Luna and Beck. I'm like, come on in, let's talk. What's your favorite Disney song right now? Let's sing it together.
Hard pass. That's a no.
They're already trying to get on the pod every week when we record. They're just banging on the door trying to get in.
Doors locked.
Doors locked. So Cameron, we're actually together, but we're in separate rooms. So we're out in Utah and St. George enjoying, the kind of work from home from anywhere kind of, aspect of what we do right now in the world with COVID. And Cameron is working at BuzzFeed. And so we'll get to talk a little bit about that today, because we're going to talk about onboarding in a remote kind of COVID environment. And then also we're going to talk about some burnout stuff and some reactions to what's in the news right now. And we also have our CHRO Move of the Week. And then Cameron gets to go and cut all the fancy music into all that good stuff that we're going to do. So
yes, sir.
Let's get right into it. We're gonna go to the headlines. Wall Street Journal and its companies are offer creative solutions to worker burnout during a pandemic. In this, and you guys can go find the article. We'll actually put it in the liner notes at the Wall Street Journal. So, companies like, I want to say was it Fidelity or Accenture? Somebody was saying, hey, we're going to offer, you to work, 30 hours a week, but we'll give you full benefits, which I always think is a really great thing to be able to do for those organizations that can do it. I also think it's super expensive. So a lot of organizations, especially right now during a pandemic, could never offer that. But we also see a ton of organizations doing a bunch of, work at home groups, right? So you're like, oh, if you're working at home and you're by yourself and, you're kind of in, what do they call that? Like stationed in place, or what do they call that, Cam? Or Jay, what do they call that? What's the government say? Like when you got to, you're locked in your house.
Oh, shelter in place.
Shelter in place.
Yeah.
So you're sheltered in place by yourself, working, living all in the same place. They try to get all those people together and, I don't know, talk and do things like that. Cam, I know at BuzzFeed, you guys have some stuff from a burnout perspective. Talk about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I've only been working for about 2 months, so I haven't been working throughout the entire pandemic. When the pandemic started, I was still in college, so it's a little bit different for me since I haven't been working for going on 7-8 months now at work from home. But they do try to get us into a lot of Zoom rooms with people that like are alone or things like that. They have like meditations every single week, and like they'll bring in like yoga that you can do on your lunch hour or things like that. I haven't really gone too much into them. I do like live with other people, so I'm not by myself all of the time. And I'm not necessarily burned out yet, but they do try to offer a few things a week.
There's so many caveats to Cameron. Like before he has to tell you like what he really wants to say, he's like, by the way, I've only worked 2 weeks and I'm not burned out, but here's what I think.
I'm not burned out. I'm only 22. I can't be burnt out.
By the way, I would love to be the person that got to name those rooms. Like, I'm all alone. Come into the I'm all alone room. I'm lonely with no friends, you know. So Cam, you have don't you have like a day a month that you're encouraged to take to kind of combat burnout?
We have a mental health day. I don't know when it was implemented. I believe sometime during the pandemic by our CEO, and we're encouraged to take one day a month that we get extra off in addition to like our PTO, and it's a mental health day. And you just let your manager know like, hey, I'm going to take this day off, or you can split it over 2 days, like 2 half days or something, and do like a mental health day. And we're strongly encouraged to take them. We don't like get it back if we don't use it, but it is like something once a month that we can use to like take a day off and kind of focus on ourselves.
Jay, what are you guys doing at Marriott?
Well, so I think like just like what I'm actually seeing in the article, like there's all this talk about like, let's put a greater focus on mindfulness or mental health, whether it's, you know, meditation or like trying to get people together to have engagement opportunities or, you know, extra days off. And I think all those things like are things to try. But what I feel like is kind of coming to light is that like no one has a good answer, right? Like I'm glad people are trying things, but like, are these going to be the things that make a difference? And the other thing that I wonder is like, after this pandemic is over and we get back to some kind of sense of normalcy, like, do you just stop doing those things? Like we're not going to give you mental health time or self-care time anymore. Like we're just going to yank it. It doesn't matter. Like these are probably things that like we should all be doing anyways, but I'm still waiting to see like who's going to have like a real good solution. Cause you know, like one of our competitors was mentioned in the article for something that they're doing. And they were saying, oh, well, we're encouraging people to allow their teams to take Zoom calls from the parks or other outdoor venues. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not a benefit. Like how people work where they're going to work. Like, how are we calling that a benefit? So it's hard. No one has a good answer, but hopefully also like let's not take these things away. You should get a mental health day next year, Cam, when this is over.
I sure hope I do.
You may be burnt out in a year.
This is a unique podcast in that we have 3 generations on: Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z. Mm-hmm. The Gen X and me, I told this to Cameron when he first told me that he had a mental health day. I was like, that's a test. Don't take it. Right. Like that. You are going to be in trouble. They're just, someone's running a spreadsheet and want to go, hey, how many people have taken mental health days? Because those are the people we're getting rid of, you know, when we have to do layoffs. Like, I mean, I'm just so wired that way where it's like burnout. What are you talking about? If, you know, the only time you talked about burnout was to find out like who couldn't hack it. Right. And so the Gen X in me is kind of like, oh my gosh, this is such a setup. But I do believe, and I see this in my own team, is that the crush of having to work at home, live at home, deal with everything all at once. And Jay, you know, we've talked about this because having you and Bobby and the kids and everybody trying to work, live in the same place over and over every day, nonstop, like it is overwhelming, you know. And I do think like we have to figure out how do we maintain this. At the same time, I just think like if we get into like worse economic times or continued economic like down times, there's going to be way too many people that are going to use this as a sign of weakness within their workforce. Unfortunately, that's my belief. I hope it's not true, but
I hope it's not true. I think the tough thing that is happening right now also is if you're in a company like mine where we have been devastated by this pandemic and we've got serious work to do to climb out of this
Mhm.
mess. Like, it's hard to take the time off and say, like, I'm going to take a week off and go sit by the lake and read a book by myself when I'm like, I got real work to do to try to get us out of this mess. And so the burnout is potentially real, but I think people feel a lot of pressure and I have a hard time with stepping away when there's hard work to be done. So it might need to be that, you know, it's a break, it's a reprieve later when you feel more comfortable and like things are less crazy. But I don't know. There's no good answers here. Everything sucks. It all sucks.
Yeah. So there you go, Cam. Welcome to the work world.
Thank you.
Everything sucks. All right, we're going to move on. So we're going to talk. So Deutsche Bank this week came out with a study that I'm perplexed by the entire thing. Really interested to get your guys' take. It calls for a 5%, and it's titled like a privilege tax on people choosing. Now, again, that whole wording of choosing to work from home, I think, is maybe let's say a future. Let's give it, you know, like the future. Maybe they get to choose. Like right now, so many people don't get to choose. It just is what it is. But so basically, they had a new report commissioned, and Deutsche Bank obviously is this giant financial institution of individuals who continue to work from home rather than the office. A 5% income tax should be levied to lower the income to support lower income workers who do not have the opportunity to stay home or work at home. Jessica, I'll start with you on a reaction to this. Are you willing to pay an extra 5% of your income to support lower income workers who can't work at home?
Oh, Tim.
Oh, see, this is the hard part, right? Because we just went through an election and people have to vote. Like, do I take care of the world or do I just take care of my money? And all of a sudden now like you have something like this crap happens and you're like, what?
I know. Well, so here's what I wonder about Deutsche Bank. So they put out this like comprehensive report about a bunch of topics related to how do you rebuild our economy and all of that. So this is them doing a study and putting it out to the world. Like, my first question would be, are you willing to look at your employees, Deutsche Bank, and tell all of them, guess what? You're going to be hit with a 5% tax. Like, if you really believe this is going to work, like, start with it yourself and let us know how this works, which I'm going to bet they're going to have a hard time looking their people in the eye saying, guess what? Taking this 5% off of, you know, your paycheck, and we're going to give this a whirl. I mean, dreams are free, as I like to say. It's a nice idea. Dreams are free. But like, really, you think this is going to fly? I don't know.
That's a great title for your article biography. Dreams are free.
I tell people that all the time at work.
But work pays the bills, mother.
Dreams are free.
My thing is like organizations that have people go work at home, and now you're not paying for an office space in a big urban center that is, you know, costs a ton of money. They're actually saving tons of money by having people work at home versus coming into an office. So wouldn't it be, instead of paying a 5% income tax, shouldn't that be a 5% corporate tax for every individual corporation that has work at home?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the better solution, right? Like, wait a minute, as a corporation, you're saving tons of money by having this person go and actually work in a space that they're paying for. You should be paying that 5% tax to help support those lower income workers. Now, again, the concept of this is people are saying, well, wait a minute, why would somebody at home working at home pay for lower income workers? It's the concept of it's basically service workers who are going to take the brunt of the work at home kind of initiative, right? So if I'm not coming into the office and I don't have to go to the parking garage and I don't pick up my, you know, coffee at Starbucks, and I'm not doing lunch at the lunch counter, and I'm not doing like all of these jobs that are created by me going to the office now go away, or many of them will go away, which is the kind of the concept behind this. But I'm just, it's perplexing to me that they would, again, I know they're trying to figure out how do we help pay for the job change and this kind of this, you know, move that we're going to make as a society to more work at home. But I think that's just basic economic theory, right? Like, people will adjust. The jobs will change. Instead of having a parking garage attendant job, there'll be a job out in the suburbs where, you know, people are going to go and do stupid yoga classes or whatever. I don't know.
It's
Cam,
the penalties on the wrong population is part of like the issue here, because right now in the middle of a pandemic, like, I'm not choosing to work from home. I actually don't want to work from home. I would like to go to the office. So this is not my choice. And then you're going to dock me 5% for something that is not my choice. Like, I have an issue with that. But like, once you get out of this, like if people are choosing to work from home later, like maybe there's something to explore here. But like, I also think, like, to your point, like the onus should be on companies that are having people work from home or allowing it, because these same companies reap tons of benefits to have offices in certain locations. They get tons of tax breaks, and they're lured to come, have their offices in a certain location because it'll benefit like the surrounding community by having your office there. So like, why are you penalizing that like individual employee? Like, you should be talking to the companies themselves. Yeah. Deutsche Bank.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, the article references like a salary that's pretty, like it would only be this much for someone that is like an entry level, like just out of college type of salary, which is similar to mine. And so it doesn't sound that bad. It says something about $10 a day, but I'm thinking like the company I work for, I'll be working in Union Square in New York City, and I get multiple meals comped a week and all of these things. I'm like, that adds up to more than $10 a day that the company will be paying for me. So why is it falling on me? Like, I can afford $10 a day. I'm like, I was set up well after college. I budget whatever, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem very logical when I know like I work for a company that pays a lot of money for things that they aren't paying for right now. And I know a lot of companies out there, especially huge corporations, are in the same boat.
Yeah, the new normal of what the work world will look like post-pandemic. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Deutsche Bank in the study. We'll put that in the notes so that people can kind of click through and check that out, because there's other things in there as well. The big one, though, was this privilege tax, which I think, again, it's an idea. And I think a lot of economists and financial people are going to try to come up with a lot of these ideas on how do we take care of society in a post-pandemic world, especially those parts of the society that were hit the worst. All right, now we're ready for the CHRO Move of the Week. All right, Jessica, we're going to head to DC. The Washington football team just hired a brand new head of human resources, Andre Chambers. Andre, and I'm going to run down his LinkedIn profile. He is coming from the San Francisco Bay Area because he's currently the VP of People Operations at the Oakland Athletics, but also has pretty good background with like EA, Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Citi, IBM. He was actually with Wegmans like right out of like college, which again, for those who don't know, it's like a big supermarket chain, which is known for having just tremendous, great HR practices on the East Coast. And then has all the credentials with a bachelor's and a master's in some other executive leadership stuff. JLee, what do you think about Andre coming to the metro area?
Wegmans also has really good baked goods, very good produce.
I've never been to one. I don't know.
My gosh, Wegmans is
it's
like
really good ratings.
Oh my gosh, it's like heaven. Like I know people, but like actually speaking of working from home and being remote, I actually have had team members who have chosen to like go sit at Wegmans in like their, like
coffee shop
area because they're like the cafe, the baked goods. Wegmans is awesome. It's amazing. So that would.
So now that we're on supermarkets, so Cam and I are in St. George, Utah. And there's a chain called Harmon's. There's a chain called Harmon's that is amazing.
Wow.
It's so amazing. There's so many things there. Like we went in there the other day and like, are you a tea drinker, Jay?
No, coffee straight.
I'm not either. Coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
But people that drink tea, they literally had a honey station that had to have 20 different kinds of honey.
It was incredible.
Like tea.
Wow.
There's so many cool things that you just don't see anywhere else.
Another thing about Utah, I started watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City this week.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we need to talk about that.
I haven't watched it yet, but one of my good friends works for NBC and he got the screener before and he's like, you have to watch the entire season. So I think I'm going to have to watch this one. I'm excited to see.
By the way, I saw the cast. I saw the cast photo for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and I'm like, that's not Salt Lake City. There was like two people of color. There's like two people of color in there and all Salt Lake City is blonde women. Like that's all there is there.
Well,
like Mormon blonde women.
Like excommunicated from the Mormon church and other things. I mean, it is amazing. But back to Andre. So
Andre.
Cool. I know, poor Andre. And Andre will connect with us on LinkedIn after this, because this is what happens once we do a CHRO Move of the Week. Like, I think that is so cool to be like an HR person for a sports team. And I'm not even a sports person.
No.
But I just feel like that's so interesting. And I did grow up as an Oakland A's fan because of they were in their heyday when I was growing up. So I think that's pretty cool. But welcome to the cluster F that is the Washington football team, Andre. Like, good luck. I mean, so, like, he's got some work to do when you look at this organization, because there's like family leadership dynamics in the mix with, and then I do know like former cheerleaders who worked for the Redskins, and like there's a culture thing happening there that he's got to tackle. And so I can't believe that culture dynamics for a pro baseball team versus a football team that is so steeped in so much drama, like he's got like a big job ahead of him. So good luck, sir. But like his background is super interesting. Like, I love the diversity of like technology, finance, good old Wegmans, and then now like the realm of pro sports. Like, this is cool.
Finding a great career has always been a challenge. But today, with the massive changes underway in just about every sector of the economy, in just about every country in the world, finding a great new career is even more challenging. And if you're a student, recent graduate, or someone else early in their career, it's even harder for you because you just don't have the experience that those who might be 10, 20, 30 years older than you have. The answer? The podcast, From Dorms to Desks, a podcast by College Recruiter job search site, where every week we take a deep dive into a topic specifically of interest to candidates who are early in their careers and looking for a great part-time, seasonal, internship, or other entry-level job.
Yeah, KD and I have talked forever. Like, we love our companies and what we do and the jobs and all this stuff. But like, if the NBA came calling, like the Knicks or anybody, and said, "Hey, we need a head of HR," like him and I are going in a heartbeat. Like, we're going to go run HR for a sports team. We don't even care. It's like, we're there. It doesn't matter. We would probably do it for free in our retirement. So, Andre, we're going to live vicariously through you. We'd love to bring you on the pod and talk shop of HR in a sports league kind of world, because we actually I've talked to a couple of people in the history. I knew like that an HR guy at the Red Sox and somebody at the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they're just like, yeah, everybody thinks like it's the greatest job ever, and you're going to be sitting courtside and you're going to be talking to players. They're like, it's none of that. But I like to believe.
Like, like in the academic world, like if you're an academic and you're tenured, like they're treated differently, and they've got like, if they are HR people to handle that separately. Like in the world of sports, like the athletes are all handled. There's like a difference between like the athletes and like the staff. And he's probably just focused on like the staff, right?
For sure. I mean, but I think, again, like it would be difficult when you have, because like if you think about, most organizations have like resources. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about people resources, but you actually have like a product or a brand or whatever. And so as an HR person, you're always worried about protecting that, and then you're creating this culture around training and development that's also trying to protect that. And if you knew like you had like for like a football team where you have like 50 guys, right, and that was your resource, like that's your value is right there, and taking care of these individuals and making sure that they're healthy, that they're developed, that they have the right coaching. And I'm not talking about physical like football coaching, but like financial coaching, mental coaching, like they're you want to make them the best they can be. I think there's a real opportunity for HR to have an impact in the sports realm that they haven't had previously, which is like, oh, well, we just hire the concession people. Like, be better than that, right? Be more than that. So
You know what I wonder? Like I was looking at Andre's background and I don't like when he worked at Citi, his title was SVP, director, like what are these hybrid
That's a bank.
titles?
That's
Like,
a bank thing.
is
That's
that
a banking thing. Yeah. Like if you go to you could go to any recruiter on LinkedIn that works at a bank and they're like vice president recruiter. It's the banking thing has the weirdest titles in the world. Like, and if you go up like director, manager, director, actual VP, a buddy of mine is like president, right? And well, for a large bank. And it turns out there's like 100 presidents at that bank. Like, it's like, come on, like, can everybody be a president? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
That's like my in-laws because they're immigrants and they very blue collar. So they're not really quite sure what I do or what the corporate world's about. But when we were dating and my husband told them like, oh, she's a vice president. And they're like, she is like the number 2 in charge at that company.
Yes.
And I'm like,
right?
No. In the world of Marriott International, I'm one of a million VPs, but they were like, wow, she is the number 2 in charge.
I know.
I'm like, no.
Sorry, yeah, they thought Bobby lottery. They're like, yeah, you got a good one.
I know. They thought he married up, and look what he got. Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to hit our last segment, which is bringing Cameron back because we're going to talk about onboarding in a remote world. Most of us, myself and Jessica, we actually got to do onboarding where we got to walk into an organization and, get our office and our user or passwords and all this stuff, like, and probably sat in like onboarding meetings that were face to face with some HR person or training development person. Cam, you took your job at BuzzFeed 8 weeks ago, as you already told us, and you had to onboard completely remote. So I want to talk about that experience. Like, what was your expectation? And I know you don't have like a comparison, from onboarding in person versus onboarding remote, but how did you feel that went? Did you feel like there's things that are lost that you can't wait to get to New York and you actually get into the office and kind of figure that piece of it out? But just talk to me about that.
Yeah. I've onboarded a few times for internships, which I think is definitely a shorter process than for a full-time job. But in my experience, onboarding for my most recent position was more painless than the other experiences because I felt like it was an abbreviated process. And I usually find onboarding to be very dull. A lot of the things that they're saying to me either as an intern or like as an entry level employee don't really like mean a lot to me because it's a lot of like, this might happen to you if you're here for like 4 more years. And it's like, well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. So it was a couple of meetings. Like I had like 2 different like onboarding sessions with like 2 different HR people. And they definitely like did a great job of like handling the situation that they had. But I felt like it was a better experience doing the process at home and doing it abbreviated rather than sitting in this room with like 3 other people that are also new for hours and hours and hours. However, I think the experience of me getting to know my team and like the people I'm actually working with has been a lot lower. And that's not necessarily an onboarding thing. I think that's just like a working together thing, but that's the experience that I feel like I've really missed out on. And whenever I do get back in the office, probably summer 2021, like I don't know how that process is going to go because I've already known these people for almost a year at that point.
So like, tell me the logistics. Like, did they send you a computer ahead of, like, I'm even curious about like, how did they handle logistically getting you on board? Like there's no ID badge you needed on day one. So like, how did they even prepare for day one?
It was kind of, from my experience, it was good because I had the recruiter and I had my manager reaching out to me, kind of like double checking that I had like all of the right logins and stuff. I didn't receive my computer until a couple of days into my first week, which was just like a USPS was slow. It's kind of like behind type of thing. So I was just able to use my personal computer and I got everything set up. My manager had sent me an entire schedule for my first day, just being like, log on to this time, we'll meet, and then you'll do this onboarding session, you'll do this onboarding session, which was really helpful. I don't know if all managers did that for all new employees. There was about 7 or 8 people that started at the same time as me in similar positions. So I was able to use my own computer and I had a little bit of a summary. It wasn't like this huge, like very detailed list of what I was doing. And I met with like a specific person for like BuzzFeed just like generally what is the onboarding for BuzzFeed, and then also kind of what is my like onboarding for my position, and like because I do social media, like a more social media oriented onboarding session.
And then like
so the general one was that like pay, benefits, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like
kind of more general onboarding topics.
Yep.
And then like, have they said anything, or like, have you like had to work through like, how do you meet people? Because, you know, if you're in an office building, you're walking down the hallway and someone's like, oh, meet Cam, he just started. And then you guys end up having coffee, and then like you end up having lunch. And like when you're completely virtual and brand new, like I don't even know how that works. Like, how do you get to know and meet people?
It's been really hard.
Yeah.
I have one-on-ones with my manager, and I actually like 3 weeks in, my manager left and I got a new manager, which was a little difficult of a process, but we kind of started all over together. So that kind of actually helped. But I luckily had two friends that I knew before I started at BuzzFeed, and one is actually on my team. And so I reach out to her a lot. But if I didn't know anyone, like I wouldn't really feel comfortable asking a lot of questions about like culture or like, is it okay to do this? Because I 2 months in, I still don't feel comfortable with a lot of people that I don't talk to regularly because we just don't have a lot to talk about, but we might be on the same team. It's just a process that I feel like no one really has figured out the right way to do it yet.
Yeah, and Cam, they're a Slack shop, so obviously, they can communicate and do some of that. But I do think, Jessica, like it's a challenge for all of us that are trying to like onboard people remotely. And I think the biggest challenge is that the team learning, organizational shift of knowledge kind of thing, where again, if like you said, like the hallway introductions, or I have a new manager who's going to a meeting and they're just going to yank me along because I'm the new guy, and little by little, you're going to kind of absorb some of this stuff. There was a couple of organizations that I work with that they started on onboarding where they'll send videos, like, so each team member, like, so they'll say, let's say there's 12 people on your team. Every single member has to send a video of like introduction, like, hey, here's who I am, and let's connect and actually schedule out some meetings. So HR has been forced to kind of like become this, almost like this dating, like this introduction person of saying, hey, we have to kind of force some of these, kind of interactions. Otherwise, I mean, you're just leaving a person out there on an island, and you and I both know, like, many of these people will fail.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing you're calling out, like, I feel horrible that you like lost your manager within the a new person, but maybe it's working. But like the thing that you're bringing to light is like, one, there's like this role for HR to play to like create some really strong like framework or infrastructure on how do you bring new people like into the organization. And it's got to be super deliberate, super thoughtful, and maybe even more programmed than if it were like in a face-to-face situation. But like managers and leaders have like a complete, like you have to get out of your comfort zone. Like I don't like picking up the phone and calling people, and that's not like the way that I like to communicate. But like I had some new people join my team recently, and like I pick up the phone regularly now, because like they're not going to just walk by my office where I can be like, hey, come in here and let's chat. So like I have to be more intentional. I have to pick up the phone, and I have to like take the time to like really make sure that like they know like I'm human, I'm in a human situation too, like we're gonna get through this together. And so managers have like a really, I think, important but hard job right now to like drive that connectivity. And I just can't imagine like what it's like to be on the other side though as you.
Mm-hmm.
My one of my the first remote HR job I had was with Applebee's, and I had a leader, Jackie Justy, shout out, hey Jackie, that was she's like super completely off the chart detail orientation. So my first 2 weeks, every single hour of the day she had planned out, and a lot of those were, you're going to have a conversation with this person, and then this person. By the way, not only that, was that person knew that I was going to be calling them or having this conversation. And we had a topic to actually talk about that was different, right? They had questions that were in there, which I mean, literally got me ingratiated into that culture so fast, like better than I've ever had with any other organization. But that's a lot of work and a lot of thought.
Yeah.
But like she also knew like, hey, you might not need this person in this relationship right now, but like 6 months from now, 9 months from now, you're going to have something crop up in your job as an HR professional that you're going to need this person. And it's great that you've already had this introduction and this conversation with each other, so that it's not the first time that's going to happen. But it does, like Jay, like, like that's a lot of work to put in for every single hire, especially the larger the organization. And we tend just to try to go, oh, well, leaders will figure it out. Great leaders do, but the vast majority just don't. They half-ass it, unfortunately.
So Cam, what did they tell you when you were starting about dress code? Did the thing?
Wear a shirt when you're on video?
I don't think I heard anything about dress code. But after the first day, like I think I wore, I don't know, like maybe a button up and jeans. And I definitely have lowered the dress level after that. But I mean, I feel more productive when I'm wearing a little bit like more elevated clothing. So I typically am not wearing pajamas. I'm wearing something that like I would wear out of the house. But I heard nothing about the dress code.
That's so funny. Actually, so when
dress
the
code.
new team that I've been pulling together on day one of this one person joining, he did wear like a suit jacket on the first day. And I was like, Brian, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to set a good example and like set the tone. But that was the last day we saw the suit jacket. So some people are doing it. Yeah. But so like when you look back on the past 2 months, like what do you wish you knew? Like what did they forget to do, or what did you wish you had done like on the first few days, like now that you're starting to like settle in?
I think one thing that I wish either I had done or someone had like told me to do or someone had done for me is just to do a formal introduction with everyone, because I'm in like 4 different structures of a team. So like I have my like smaller team that I interact with every single day. And then I have a larger team and another larger team. And then like the entire social like presence at BuzzFeed, I'm in that team too. And I wish that my manager or just I taken the responsibility, at least for like the 20 people I interact with the most, I had said like, hi, I'm Cameron. This is what I'm going to be doing. And maybe had either like a face-to-face conversation or just an email or a Slack, because I find myself like even a month out, I would have like a random manager being like, have you guys met Cameron yet? And it's like, I mean, yeah, we've been in meetings together, but like I maybe like only said hi and I don't know. I wish that's something that I think I can put the responsibility on myself and say like, you know, I introduced myself to my immediate team, but I wish I would have done it to the larger teams that I'm a part of and done a better job about that. But it's still hard to figure out sometimes like who even is on my team. Like people are referenced and I don't know who they are, and it's been 2 months. And I feel like if I was at a job in person 2 months, I would at least have had to work with and met every single person that I'm supposed to be working with.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's the Mark. He's the guy that sits on the end that always has, 14 cups of coffee on his desk kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're calling out this idea that I actually don't think, I don't know anyone that does onboarding really well. Like, I think like we do a disservice to new people all the time in terms of getting them settled in and like making sure they meet the right people, or like even like introducing your new hire to other people so that they know like, okay, you're going to see them in meetings, or you're going to, have a one-on-one with them. And here's what you need to know. And it's like, we forget about like the very basics because you're just in a go mode. But like, I'm going through that right now where we're taking the luxury of time to be very deliberate, and I'm having to reintroduce myself. Here's what I do. But part of what I actually did with my team earlier this week was like go through a stakeholder mapping exercise. And I literally said, we're going to just take a pause. We're going to like do virtual sticky notes, and we are going to map out who are all of our stakeholders. And then we went to like the next step of like figuring out how important are they? Why do they matter? What's the way that we need to engage? And I feel like we just don't do that. We never take the time to do that unless you are like blowing stuff up and having to start from the beginning, like we kind of are right now. But
yeah, I do think, Jay, I think you're right. I think we, and again, it's not BuzzFeed. I think it's all organizations struggle with onboarding and doing really well, especially when we're remote. And, one of the things that we always look at and from an HR perspective is like, well, it takes so much time, but if you take that time at the beginning, like it just makes people move so much faster afterwards, right? Like they can actually come up to speed and do things so much faster. So I do think like this is really, it's one of the things that if you take a look at any kind of like survey of employees, of organizations, of HR, onboarding is always one of those top ones where we just seem like we just can't get it right. And I think there's a lot of technology companies that have been trying to figure this out. And I don't think better technology is necessarily at issue. I mean, it would help, right? From an organizational, from a scheduling, from an all this standpoint. But I still think it comes back to just having to take the personal time to really kind of start to share and transfer knowledge and information. It takes time. It takes an investment of time, right?
It takes time. And like, we never, like, people, and I think, you know, there's this expectation you hit the ground running on day one, or there's a pressure you put on yourself to hit the ground running on day one, which is just never realistic, right? Like, I love the saying of go slow to go fast is like a mantra for folks to dig into.
The title of this podcast could be just Jessica Sayings. Like, I think we've gotten like so many in this. With so much knowledge from JLee today.
Oh, let me try to come up with some other thing. All right, so I have another question, Cam. Like, when you're new to, I imagine, and I love me a BuzzFeed quiz. I mean, and I also legitimately like BuzzFeed news. I think some people are like, that's not a news source, but I legitimately believe
they're trying harder.
Yeah, I think that it's a source of news. So I'm not a hater by any means. And so I imagine BuzzFeed has like this really cool, fun culture in my head because I love like the brand of BuzzFeed. But like, how does that culture come to life when you're new and you're virtual? Like, I can't even imagine, like, how do you get to feel it and sense it?
Oh, it's really difficult. I don't really know like what the office culture is like. Like, I can hear stories, and a couple people have left BuzzFeed while I've been there, like not for any reason, just, you know, like normal jobs and leaving and stuff like that. And they've told stories about like, this is what BuzzFeed was like when we were back in the office. And I was just listening and I was like, that sounds wonderful. That's what it's like. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to experience that, but I think they've done like, they try to implement these things. Like, I think like mental health day, or like just being like a little bit more flexible on our time working and stuff like that. And like, people swear a lot in our meetings, and like, I think that's a thing. And it's just hard to get a feel of what the culture is like. And I think like something that I've run into is that my team isn't very active on like, let's have fun on Slack. I think we're a pretty busy team. And so I don't really get like a sense of like kind of what the office banter is like, or like the banter within my team is like. So I think that's one of the most difficult things that I've run into, is just I can't get a feel for what the culture is like. But I mean, I can understand. I've worked in like a media organization that seems pretty tangential to BuzzFeed, so I can predict what it's like, but I don't think I'll be able to really get a sense of what it's like until I'm back in the office, or in the office for the first time.
It's interesting because like, that's like, you're also bringing up the fact that like people rely on like the in-office things, or like the in-office rituals, or the in-office offerings to like define the culture, when that can't really, because like we can be in the situation we're in right now where like the ping pong table and the free food is not happening. So like, that can't be what your culture is. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So that's what we have for everybody today. Again, think about onboarding, think about how you're onboarding, especially in the work at home remote environment, in all of those things. I want to thank Cameron for coming on and sharing, because it is super valuable to actually get that kind of worker experience, especially when it's fresh and new for all of us that are in the industry. And we tend to sometimes forget the actual impact that we have in terms of onboarding remote. So for Cameron Sackett, my middle son, and Jessica Lee, my great friend, we are out.